Okay, hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the first episode of the year for the Applied HE Squaring the Circle debate. Did you know we have been organizing this series of Squaring the Circle debate for the last 4 years, and this is our 5th year now? Gosh, how time flies, right? The motion to be debated tonight is universities should provide every undergraduate, irrespective of discipline or program, with a compulsory credit-bearing course on entrepreneurship and running a business. My name is Mandy Mock, and I'm the founder and CEO of Applied HE. Applied HE is an international higher education service provider, and we specialize in strategies and solutions for evaluation, global branding, and marketing for the higher education sector. Our professional networking services are designed to help universities forge strong connections between universities and their most important stakeholders. We are rooted in Asia, and we aim to positively disrupt the global higher education sector. Tonight's debate master is Professor Kevin Downing. He is the Secretary to Council in Court and Professor of Veterinary Clinical Science from the City University of Hong Kong. Thank you very much, and much appreciation to all our speakers. Tonight, as you notice, they are all male and all hailing from Asia, 2 from Malaysia, Indonesia, and the Philippines. So without further ado, I'll hand the floor over to you, Kevin.
Thank you, Mandy. Hello, everyone. Really good to be here. I'm very sorry it's an all-male panel. Wasn't my responsibility, but that means it's very important that all the females that have joined us ensure that they have their voice heard after the speakers have spoken. So I'll first of all say a little bit about myself. I'm Professor of Veterinary Clinical Medicine at City University of Hong Kong, and I'm responsible for governance of the university. President is the Chief Executive, and I'm the Executive Governor of the university. So I make sure that I enact what the council, the governing body of the university, expects of us, the high standards of governance. I've been in education around the world for many years, and I've probably met many of you. And I hope when I go through the names later to say hi to 1 or 2 of you that I've met before and some new friends. I'm going to introduce the debaters, then I'm going to talk a little bit about the format of the debate, won't take long. Then I'll introduce the topic, and then we'll get started. So let me begin by introducing our debaters. I have pages and pages of information about them. I'm going to shorten it to save you all. First of all, our proposer is Professor Dr. Abi Veerakumarasivan, sorry, Abi, the provost at Sunway University in Malaysia. Prof. Abi is a University of Cambridge trained geneticist, educator, and science communicator. Before taking on his current role as provost of Sunway, he was the dean of the School of Medical and Life Sciences. His research in genetics involves the elucidation of components of the regulatory pathways that drive tumor recurrence and invasion, as well as dissecting Asian genetic variations that confer differences in disease risk and response to therapy. So welcome, Prof. Abi. Apologies for not coping with all the syllables. My apologies. Then we have supporting Prof. Abi, we have Caleb Donnaconiate, Manager of the Alumni, Industry Relations and Global Education Office, AirGeo, at Trinity University of Asia, TUA. Many of you will know that as in Manila, in the Philippines. And Caleb's got some interesting things about himself as well. An avid reader of Asian history and socio-economic cooperation, he believes the world can gain immensely from each region's concerted efforts to achieve harmony and progress. Furthermore, he espouses the understanding that cooperation among nations and groups is easier to achieve when all parties are prepared, willing, and actually have shares to contribute for the progress of all. So welcome, Caleb. Looking forward to your contribution as well. And then someone who's probably no stranger to most of you, our lead opposer, Dr. Peter Steck, is postdoctoral researcher, Center for Technology, Strategy and Sustainability, and ASEAN Research Center, Asia School of Business in Kuala Lumpur, in Malaysia. Prior to joining ASB, Dr. Steck was chief analyst at Applied HE, a Singapore-based higher education evaluation technology startup. He also worked in managerial roles at QS, Squarcarelli Simmons, and Sungkyunkwan Kwang University in Seoul in Korea, which is when I first met Peter many, many years ago. While pursuing his doctorate, Dr. Steck served as an adjunct lecturer at Jeonbuk National University, Myeongji University, and Yeongnam University in Korea, teaching courses relating to economics, management, and the internet. And he also worked as a science reporter for Seoul's TBS EFM radio. So please welcome Peter. Looking forward to your strong opposition to Prof. Abi's strong proposition. And last but not least, and I'm very glad he's been able to break his fast on his second day of Ramadan. I'd like to welcome Mohammed Rafi, inspiring educator and thought leader, and head of the Language Center, Universitas Muhammadiyah Sumatera Utara in Indonesia. Most of you will know as UMSU, UMSU, in Indonesia. He's profoundly dedicated to education and serves as a dynamic lecturer, known for his expertise in English education. He has a master's degree and he brings a wealth of knowledge to the classroom. His specialism is English teaching, where he delves into the intricacies of his field, fostering a rich learning environment. His passion for knowledge transfer is evident in his engaging lectures that inspire curiosity and critical thinking. So welcome, Mohammed Rafi, and I look forward to you inspiring some critical thinking and curiosity amongst our audience today. So I've introduced the debaters. I'll just very briefly introduce the format. In a moment or two, I will ask Simon to put a vote chart up, and I want every single one of you participants to vote for or against the motion. That's the pre-vote, if you like. Those of you who understand experimental design will know this is the pre-test, okay, where you indicate your views on the proposition from the outset. Then I will invite Dr. Abi to speak for 5 minutes with no visual aids, and I'll be very strict about the 5 minutes in support of the proposition. Then I'll go to Dr. Peter, and I'll invite him to speak for 5 minutes, no visual aids, against the proposition. Then I will come to Caleb, who will support Prof. Abi in his proposition for 5 minutes. And then lastly, but not least, I'll go to Mohammed Rafi, and I'll ask Rafi to speak against the proposition for 5 minutes, all without visual aids, despite that stunning background that Rafi has on his link for the Zoom webinar. Then I will open it up to the audience, and you'll notice at the bottom of your screens, there's a little hand. Click on the hand if you want to make a point. We'd really appreciate it if you'd show your face. Even if you're in pajamas, you can just show your face, and at least we know that you're there. And unmute. I'll unmute you, and you can make your point. What I want you to do when you do that is say who you are, where you're from, and whether you're speaking for or against the proposition. And then you make your point. Then when all that's over, about 10 minutes before we wrap up, we'll go to a post vote. This is the post test from experimental design methodology. And here you'll be asked to vote again. I'm hoping that as academics, you have open minds. We'll see how open they are at the end of this debate by checking how many of you have had your minds changed by the erudite arguments of our four distinguished panelists. Okay, so that's the format. I'm now going to introduce the topic very briefly, and then we'll move directly to Prof. Abbey. Okay, so the proposal is that universities should provide every, that means every single undergraduate, irrespective of discipline or program, with a compulsory credit-bearing course on entrepreneurship and running a business. It's very precise. Universities should provide every undergraduate, irrespective of discipline or program, with a compulsory credit-bearing course on entrepreneurship and running a business. As such, this proposition, some of you might think, challenges the traditional academic curriculum, and it argues in an era of unprecedented change, economic uncertainty, difficulties with governmental nation-state tax systems around the world in terms of generating income, that entrepreneurial skills are not just beneficial, but are actually essential for every single graduate. Because if graduates don't pull us out of this mess that we're in, who else will? So we're going to explore potential impacts, benefits, and drawbacks of making entrepreneurship education a universal cornerstone of the undergraduate experience. So I'm looking forward to hearing from all of the speakers and from as many of you in the audience as possible. Without further ado, I want to ask Professor Dr. Abbey, Provost of Sunway University, to speak for 5 minutes for the proposition. Abbey.
Thanks, Kevin. Dear friends, entrepreneurship is defined when an individual who has an idea and now has the mindset, i.e. the confidence and the skills to act on that idea. An idea that may or may not disrupt the current market, but it certainly creates a new and innovative product or service that is of demand. It could be a new solution to an existing problem, or perhaps a problem that we may be facing in the future. I'm sure that all of you today can agree that we need more entrepreneurs to create accessible, available, affordable, and culturally acceptable solutions to the various challenges we face both locally and globally. And in fact, in many low and middle income countries, including Malaysia, where entrepreneurs are seen as one viable way in which we can increase our economic pie to escape the middle income trap. For example, the number of startups in Europe has been growing about 20% each year since 2014, and they are now one of the key engines of economic growth in Europe. But in the context of entrepreneurship education, the purpose of the course learning outcomes is not limited to becoming an entrepreneur. Instead, it focuses on creating an awareness of what entrepreneurship means, immersing into the innovative spirits and the risks and uncertainties that characterize the entrepreneurial ecosystem, and finally develop that entrepreneurial values, mindset, and skills. In a post-normal world that is characterized by the complexity, the chaos, the contradictions, it is the entrepreneurial mindset and skills that are critical. We often hear labels such as the current learners are strawberry generations that is easily bruised and do not have the resilience and are unable to cope with failure, or not having the purpose due to the bleak economic outlook post-graduation, or perhaps the soft skill gaps that our graduates don't satisfy the industry needs. That it's imperative to recognize that many skills that are involved in entrepreneurship translate well to other aspects of life and give students real-world skills, even if they don't become entrepreneurs. An entrepreneurship-focused curriculum like what we have at Sunway will allow students to gain leadership, marketing, financial, planning, research, project management skills, critical thinking, and negotiating tactics. It allows learners to be curious and ask the questions that matter. It allows learners to accept risk and uncertainty and learning how to mitigate and take advantage of them. It promotes learners to accept failure as an essential part of advancing their learning as part of the trajectory of success. It reminds learners that they coexist with other people around the world, the need to practice empathy, to understand other stakeholders, the need to have effective communication when collaborating with diverse groups, investors, co-founders, customers, beneficiaries, and the various different members of society. And that value of bringing and bridging high trust relationships. And thus it trains our graduates to become resilient solution seekers. But why should everyone do it? It goes beyond these skill sets. It is about equity. The fact remains that the world's richest business owners are predominantly white and male. Entrepreneurs also tend to come from wealthy backgrounds because they have the resource and support. By teaching entrepreneur skills as the default rather than an afterthought, students are empowered to enter a world that would otherwise remain closed to them. The opponents of today's debate, I'm sure, will argue that we should give students choice, the freedom of options. But if the students are not exposed to entrepreneurship by their family or their community and have never even thought about this in their whole life, what is the likelihood that they're going to choose this option or choice? What's the likelihood that they're going to choose that path? And if we don't have credit bearing, how do we ensure that they are sufficiently incentivized to immerse themselves, to excel, and to actually be involved in that education? I'm sure all of you can relate that for many students, and especially in Asia, grades and credits remain a major incentivizing factor. And while we might argue that scoring well might hijack the purpose of a holistic education, it is really important that we appreciate that credit bearing is a trade-off. Because what's the alternative? That the students don't really care, they don't attend, and then just take attendance? So we have to ensure that these students actually immerse into it. If education is meant to be a normalizer and a tool that enables social mobility, we have a moral imperative at HEIs as institutions to provide mandatory credit-bearing entrepreneurship education that provides the necessary behavioral nudges that bridges this critical inequity gap, both across individuals and geography. Dear friends, let's not allow the real and hypothetical challenges that my opposition may spew. Let's not limit ourselves to the realities. We need resilient solution seekers for the challenges today and tomorrow. And that is why we need entrepreneurship education for all students, independent of their focus. Thank you.
Thank you, Abby. Just in time, well done. Very well timed. I loved your reference to dear friends. That's a good way to get people on side. Nice touch. Thank you very much indeed. That was very impassioned and highly competent vote for the proposition. Now, I have a confession to make. With age comes wisdom, but also with age comes the odd senior moment. And I had a senior moment. Having done all of that, I didn't take the pre-vote from you all. So before we move to, I've already apologized, Peter, online. Before we move to Peter, I'm actually going to ask you, as Simon, to put up the vote. And I want you to vote for or against the proposition. Do you agree with it or do you disagree with it? Please vote now. I'd probably stack the orders, the odds against the opposition by not putting the vote right at the beginning, but I have confidence in Peter and Rafi to deal with that. Okay, we need some more. Not all of you have voted yet. Just over 40% of you have voted. So let's have some more votes. At the moment, I can tell you it looks strongly in favor of agreeing with the proposition, very strongly in favor. So if you're not sure, give a boost to the not being in favor group of Peter and Mohammed. I'm going to give you, let me see, we still have 16 of you haven't voted, if my maths is correct. So unless you're making a cup of tea or something, please come back and vote. 15 of you now. I'm going to give you another 15 seconds and then we'll end the poll. You've got 15 of you have yet to vote. You're what's known as lurkers. You must have, well done. 14 of you have yet to vote. What else can I say that's mildly insulting that will make you vote? We have still 13 of you. Well done. Keep it coming, guys. Keep voting. Okay, you have 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. End of vote. Okay. So we have 88% agreeing with the proposition and 12% disagreeing. And actually, the last few moments, the disagrees made about 3%. So quite interesting. Some people with very open minds. So without further ado, we'll remember those figures, 88 and 12%. And we're now going to go to Peter, who has 5 minutes to speak against the motion, beginning now, Peter.
Okay, thank you very much, Kevin. And my dear friends, apparently that's a good strategy to get you on my side because I need you. No, I'd like to start off with a joke that this entrepreneurship story reminded me of. They say entrepreneurship is like making love, right? It requires passion, but it also requires experience. And nobody gets it right the first time. And it is certainly not something you're supposed to do in the classroom. So those points. But the point behind this joke is that entrepreneurship is not a normal subject. It is something that is very experiential. It's not something you learn from a textbook. You cannot learn golf or tennis from a textbook or boxing from a textbook. You need a completely different approach. And I would argue that universities are largely unsuited for providing that. They are the wrong institution for it. They're the right institution to teach you math, to teach you critical thinking, perhaps to teach you communication skills, the scientific method, but they're the wrong institution to teach you entrepreneurship. Now, my concern is that while creating more entrepreneurships, yes, we need them. There are benefits to society of having talented entrepreneurs. But teaching entrepreneurship to everybody could be counterproductive. It could backfire. Number one, students might find it too daunting. After completing the course, they might say, oh my gosh, this is so difficult. It's not for me. Never becoming an entrepreneur. Youngsters might also be thrown in the deep end, being sold unrealistic dreams about what it's going to be like, how they are going to drop out and build the next Facebook, the next Zoom and whatnot, and waste precious time and precious earnings potential, stopping them from starting a family, from saving for their pensions, etc. And the other thing to note is that the timing is probably wrong because well-known research has suggested that people in their 40s and 50s are in fact the most successful entrepreneurs because they have the work experience, they know the market, they have the network, they've built up social capital, financial capital. So in their 40s and 50s is probably the age that you need to start orienting certain people more towards entrepreneurship because the chances of failure are much smaller. The other point to make is that entrepreneurship does not really work as a poverty reduction mechanism on a kind of national scale. The countries that are always most entrepreneurial in the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor are also the poorest because people who have very, very little will hang on to anything. They'll try anything to make a buck. So entrepreneurship isn't the thing that drives it forward. My opponent mentioned entrepreneurship in Malaysia. A huge part of entrepreneurship in Malaysia is in the food and beverage segment, which is known as kind of the death area. It is extremely competitive. It has relatively high barriers to entry due to the capital that you require, and it adds almost nothing to the economy in terms of innovation or productivity. So sending more people into entrepreneurship in that context is not wise. The other thing with teaching entrepreneurship at a university is that in reality, entrepreneurship depends on luck, right? If we were to grade somebody as an entrepreneur is graded, we would have to fail 90% of the class. And a large part of the class, we wouldn't fail because they're paying attention or they're doing it right. We just fail them because we're unlucky, because that is how entrepreneurship works in the real world. And that's what we want to give them. Now, something like that would not fly at a university. That's why we don't teach it at a university. It's also not a universally needed skill. Not everybody becomes an entrepreneur. And not everybody is suitable. Not everybody is interested, especially again at the undergraduate level. Now, there are some other things which we maybe should add to the curriculum, such as teaching basic financial planning, or how to pay your taxes, or how to be a good citizen, or anti-corruption training. That maybe should be universal, but entrepreneurship certainly should not be. And people, remember, people can always choose to be entrepreneurs. They can always do it later. But should my social worker, my military commander, my school teacher, my medical teacher, my mechanical engineer be forced to take credit-bearing courses of an entrepreneurship program, which either seems terribly unfair to them in the great scheme of things, or is just poorly delivered and gives them an unrealistic sense of what it is? I think that's not the wisest thing that we should do. At the same time, good universities already teach many of the basics of good entrepreneurship. They teach communication skills. They teach critical thinking. They teach people to accept failure. But that is, okay, I think I'm out of time. But that is not the same as entrepreneurship. So don't make it mandatory. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Peter. A very impassioned opposition, and well-timed. You ended right on time as well. So without further ado, I'm going to go to, this is wonderful, this virtual stuff. I can fly to the Philippines in seconds from Hong Kong instead of an hour and a bit. So, hi, Caleb. You have 5 minutes to speak for the proposition, beginning now.
Thank you very much, Professor Kevin. Yes, I agree with Dr. Peter when he said that the school is not the best venue to learn entrepreneurship. If you're talking about a school that does not want to give the best and deliver the best kind of education to its students, and if you're, you have a school that's not, that doesn't understand global standards and teachers are not exposed to the changes in the world. Before I simplify the points that I would like to raise, I want to point out that tonight's focus of exchange is deeply important to me, but we want to give the difference between a business and entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship, as mentioned a while ago, using a unique idea to come up with a new business, to create a new market, big or small, intending to introduce products, original or already existing, that will constantly be improved by the innovativeness and the creativity of the entrepreneur. So if we're saying that this guy's an entrepreneur, but actually he's in this kind of industry and it's not doing well, maybe you're referring to business and not entrepreneurship. I am strongly proposing that universities provide every undergraduate, irrespective of discipline or program, with a compulsory credit-bearing course on entrepreneurship and running a business. Why? I wish to cite two major points. Citing more would make me tonight's main speaker and not just one of the debaters. Number one, entrepreneurship requires critical thinking, resulting in innovative output project services. We have to note that the entrepreneur is more interested in the impact of his or her output to the community where he or she introduced the product or the service offered than the financial rewards. Financial rewards, they become a factor only when the entrepreneur gets to the part of how to sustain production. An entrepreneur becomes effective in the exercise only when he or she is able to come up with unique ideas and products that are fit to the needs or demands of a target market, big or small. How does the entrepreneur know what products might be worth producing? By immersion, resulting in understanding the target market's trends, needs, attitudes, and expectations. Isn't the university expected to facilitate in the overall intellectual maturity of the student? What separates the young mind from the full, responsible citizen is the appreciation of the constant use of critical thinking. So when the university is developing a critical thinker, the same requirement is also needed to produce the entrepreneur. The habit of using research and interaction with people to gain insights and experience that will accelerate his or her learning to adjust or be one with or help the world around him or her. Therefore, when universities include entrepreneurship in the curriculum, they are actually strengthening that practice of encouraging students to constantly ask why, with whom does this work, and how can I make it viable? Number two, entrepreneurship molds the entrepreneur into becoming a person who does business with managed expectations as regards gain, because one of the vital goals of entrepreneurship is assisting growth and economy of the community. If he's not making a lot of money, if he's just making enough to sustain the production, it's okay with the entrepreneur. He will think of another product to develop, and maybe product number two will get him more gain. Schools are expected to inculcate in their learners the essence of wanting to be the best, to have more. Why? To also be able to help those who have less. So you and I can use entrepreneurship to understand what we can use as tools to empower, that's a very important word, ourselves and others as our partners. I remember early this year, farmers in northern Philippines had a rough time selling their produce, cabbage, because traders wanted to purchase these products at a losing price. The church told the farmers, all right, we will buy tons of it, offer them to the nearby communities here in Quezon City. We sold the cabbages, we turned them into kimchi without much profit. That's what you call entrepreneurship, helping others. Now, before I end, one word needs clarification. It's the word compulsory. If entrepreneurship is a good thing, why should it be required? I say that even wise people take important things for granted when they are not led to see and delve on the importance of said things. Why should it bear credit? Why not? When one does something worth his while, now or soon beneficial to others, he or she should get points, grades, documents that will reflect the diligence he or she put in that pursuit. That period in his or her stay in school shall be officially considered part of the process that transformed the student, as we say here in Trinity University of Asia, from learner to leader.
Thank you, Caleb, just in time. Thank you very much. Very impassioned. I like the reference to the farmers. As you know, there've been a great deal of disputes across the world right now with farmers in Europe and in Asia and beyond. So thank you for that. Now, last but not least, I'm going to someone who appeared to be in animated conversation whilst muted just now. I'm going to go to Mohammed. We could all see you. We weren't quite sure what you were saying, but you'll need to unmute yourself now, Rafi. You have
right.
5 minutes to speak in opposition, beginning now.
Checking my sound first. Am I audible?
Yep.
All right.
fine.
Okay. Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. The team in proposition simply lost in this debate under 2 points. Number one, none of them were explaining when the student have no passion at all, how then they will understand and success in business. But second of all, I don't know how they will effectively teach the student with only limited time, like only 1 semester, ladies and gentlemen. So we do agree that the world we're living today is a very competitive in the job fields and economic uncertainty. Hence, as universities, we need to prepare our students for the realities. But we say the compulsory credit-bearing course on entrepreneurship and running a business is not the answer to the problem because of a couple of things. Number one, the implementation will not be that effective. Why? Because considering the fact that running a business is not as something as easy like Prof. Abi taught you, ladies and gentlemen. You need to have a passion, also a talent. For example, you have to be confident with taking any risk at all. You have also to understand the weakness, strength, opportunity, and threat, which we believe not everyone have that ability, ladies and gentlemen. And for sure, with the limited time only to learn, you will not directly master on business. So do not buy the argument coming from the proposition side of the house. But second of all, adding new course will only become the distraction to their core current major, since all major require focus and time. For example, the medical school students, how are you going to oblige them with there are a lot of things to learn anyway, right? Chemistry, biology, anatomy. How good are you going to push them to only learn a new subject which definitely not going to be their interest at all, ladies and gentlemen? So it's going to be happening under 2 points. Number one, it will only ruin their learning process. But second of all, it will only become a subject that they learn for passing the grade only, because they have no intention and no passion to begin with. Therefore, we say it's morally incorrect to oblige every student to learn about business, ladies and gentlemen, since this is not very easy to run anyway. Therefore, opposition stance is very clear today. Number one, we do not want compulsory credit-bearing course, but instead, we will focus on giving our student an information related to work method and job field to ensure that they still well informed to the current problem in seeking for the job anyway. But second of all, we never prohibit our student to not taking the business class at all, because in status quo, the student can still apply for the class or course under extracurricular that is optional for them. We're not going to push them at all. If you have the passion, why don't you just take a specific major in School of Business anyway, without any burden enforcement coming from your university, ladies and gentlemen? So, Mr. Chair, I will talk and explain two arguments in today's debate. Number one, why entrepreneurship and running a business in all departments should not be compulsory in university. But second of all, why on our proposal it will lead a better outcome. Welcome to my first argument then. Why entrepreneurship and running a business in all departments should not be compulsory in university. The team in proposition might to say, oh, something can be compulsory when it can prevent harm, for example. But we say harm is not the main parameter. The government and university should also need to see the effectivity of a policy. When you as a government and you university do not see any significant effect for your student, why are you going to push them to learn about this? On the other hand, we also think that the problem of students are difficult to compete to the real world today to get a job is not because there are few jobs available, but because of the students do not have enough qualified skill in status quo. That is why the duty of university is not to oblige them to learn something new here, but to make sure that our students have enough skill according to their majors, not obliging them with the new course of a business. Second argument then, why on our proposal in opposition, it will lead a better outcome. Note, ladies and gentlemen, in order to survive and make money in today's world, it doesn't always translate into have a business, right? But also in many other ways, such as becoming a specialist, for example, on your current major. So the company cannot easily replace you because your skills are so unique and only a few people able to do that. Or work in multiple jobs remotely. So even if you lost one because of externalities like COVID, for example, you still have the other one. We believe every individual have their own way to survive and make money. It can be business, yes, right? But can be others too. Only on our side, they will have the capability and the ability to choose their own way to survive, because university gives information but never force them to take any business course at all. Both of teams should agree that university has a huge responsibility to make sure that our students will be more responsible with their chosen major right after they graduate. Only in our side of the house, the students will be more likely to get a job better after they graduate from university, because university status quo has more than enough in preparing and improving student skills according to their major. For example, student exchange program with extent of internship program with a collaboration with the company, for example, ladies and gentlemen. Therefore, university obligation on our side is to make sure that students learn best on the program that they have chosen, with definitely in line with their own interests. Last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, this is important. When the student do not do it passionately, they will not success and they will fail easily. Because we taught you from the very beginning, not all students have a passion and talent on running a business. Comparatively, under the prop teams, the student may take the class anyway, but it will end up nothing, because like I've told you, it was off time simply because they do not want it. I'm more than proud to oppose the motion.
Thank you. Just in time there, Rafi. Thank you for that very impassioned plea. No passion, no business. I think you should go into business. There's plenty of passion there. Credit bearing, not effective. I think one of the key points that's coming out from a little discussion we're having under the more button underneath is whether it's morally correct to oblige someone. I guess my answer to that, just to start the debate with the audience, would be, well, we oblige our students to do all sorts of things, like do English. Is it morally correct to do that? We oblige our students to do all these core courses that either our governments or our university senate decides are important. So, you know, that's for everyone to consider. So right away, I have a hand up already. I want to see other hands going up. Just bear with me while I find our colleague. The hand doesn't necessarily go to the top of this, I don't think. Ah, yes. So we have Mogwera Tsatseng Sengalo. I'm going to allow you to talk. If we can, let us see you as well, Mogwera. And you can speak now. I've unmuted you. It'd be nice to see you if you have video, but don't worry if not. Mogwera, where are you calling from? We can't hear you. It shows that you're unmuted, but for some reason we can't hear you. Okay, we'll move on to someone else. There are no other hands up at the moment. I just wonder if someone that's been engaging in the QA, well, let's look at Salamat Husni Hasibwan. I'm going to allow you to talk now. Please go ahead, Salamat. Nice photograph. Be good to have some video, but if not, please go ahead.
Thank you, Prof. Kevin. So I think this debate is so interesting to listen to. I'm happy to listen all the speeches coming from all panels. However, as an audience, I little bit like having deep questions in my mind regarding on whether or not it be compulsory for students to learn given by the university about entrepreneurship and businesses. So the big question is that in two things. Number one is that how the university can make sure and ensure that the lecturers themselves understand on how to transfer the knowledge on business entrepreneurship, because they themselves are not entrepreneurs, they themselves are not businessmen. Like uh, they are only lecturers who studies about specific things. They are don't have any experience at all, like how to teach the students. That's actually the biggest question in my mind. And the second question is that uh, if it's possible to teach the students, for example, this university hire real entrepreneurs outside of the university and do the collaboration to teach the student, for example, the question is that how you can ensure that students still interested to study things in your university, because when they have like a real interest in businesses, they will leave for unfortunately this university, because they know most beneficials can be gained through the activities outside of the university rather than just staying in university for studying things. So it means that there is disadvantages to universities because students are interested to run their business outside as rather than becoming the students themselves. So I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Husni. Yes, I'm a student at Monash University. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I was going to remind you to introduce yourself. And actually, the panel are not here to answer your questions, but the audience are here to debate the questions. And one of the things that I would say, I think you make a very interesting point. One of the things I would say is that my university, for example, City University of Hong Kong, we have something called the Hong Kong Tech 300. Where we attempt to get our our undergraduate and postgraduate students funding to start a business. And in fact, we put up 30 million Hong Kong dollars, and we get another twice that amount from entrepreneurs, angel investors, and corporate investors to assist. So they may be scientists in, say, something like health science. They come up with an idea, we get it patented, and then they sit down with investors in our Hong Kong Tech 300 group, and we decide whether we're going to give them $1 million Hong Kong in the first instance to develop that business. So, you know, I think we have to have a very broad view of what entrepreneurism means, a very broad view. But I really appreciate the point because it allows us to get into that area. Moguera, can we hear from you now? There's something wrong because I saw you typing in the Q&A, but for some reason we can't hear you. Okay, so Ghulam Jilani, hi Ghulam, I'm going to allow you to talk. Can you just say where you're calling from? I know where you're calling from, but the others don't. And please say whether you're speaking for or against the proposition.
Well, can you hear me?
Very well, Ghulam.
That's good, you know. I've been participating in these programs, you know, for the last many programs. I remember, I suppose, you know.
Yes.
So far as today's topic against or favor, I mean, as per my opinion, you know, it does not matter because the word entrepreneur is derived from French word which is entrepreneur, which means to do something or to undertake. This is someone who is not content with the current state of affairs and decides to take things into his own hands and to bring a positive change in the world around him. And his vision and scrappy attitude while accepting all the risk and hardship that comes along with it. So, I mean, I have a very live case study with me, you know, that a very poor family boy, you know, whose parents used to go and make very hard livings, you know. So this boy does not go with them, you know, and his brothers and sisters also go with the parents, you know, to pick up very small things and to sell it to another. So they used to laugh at him, you know, why, what do you want to do, you know? He said, I want to study, you know. So luckily, in the way, he got acquainted with the British Council teacher, you know. She got him, you know, pick the studies, you know, and ultimately he matriculated, you know, the 10th class, and ultimately he continued his efforts. I mean, though his parents were very poor, and family around him, you know, also was very poor, you know, but none of them, you know, want I mean, wanted to have the education, except, you know. So ultimately, he got an opportunity, and he was taken to USA, New York, where he continued. You know, now he's settled there. So look at the case study. You know, the very poor guy who was contented with the current, not content with the current state of the affairs, you know, and he took his things in his hand, you know. As a result of that, you know, he became the very good entrepreneur, you know, successful entrepreneur. This
Thank
is
you,
what. Thank you very much. Thank you for allowing me.
You didn't say where you were calling from.
Well, I'm calling from Pakistan.
Oh, lovely. Welcome, and nice to see you again. I recognize your name and your voice, so thank you for that
My pleasure.
contribution.
My pleasure.
Okay, just while we wait for some more hands to go up, I'm going to go to Gabrielle Konayuma in a moment or two. What I would say is would people agree that the majority of high profile, highly successful entrepreneurs are often people like Richard Branson, who doesn't have a formal education beyond GCSE O level or A level, or people like Mark Zuckerberg, who actually dropped out of university in order to pursue their passion, as Rafi was talking about earlier on. Anyway, I'm going to go to Gabrielle, but she's taken her hand down now. So let's try, and there you are, Gabrielle. So it's Gabriel Simiyu. Yes, I'm allowing you to talk, Gabriel. Please say where you're from.
I'm having
I'm
a
asking
challenge.
you to unmute. Oh, Mogwera, we heard you.
Oh, yes, I can come after Gabriel. Thank you so much. I've been switching my mic.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay,
I'll come
thank you so
back to
much.
Gabriel.
Right, thank you so much. My easiest name is Richard. I am in Botswana at Botswana International University of Science and Technology. And as I indicated earlier on, I'm with Prof. Abdi. We actually do have a center for business management, entrepreneurship, and general education. That is not just to say lower education, general, where the engineer or whatever graduate can integrate the specialized discipline that they learn with entrepreneurship and business management. And I can confirm to you that it is running very smoothly for us. One of the questions I put up was about the percentage of how much of entrepreneurship into a core engineering, for instance, or astrophysics component. And we don't have a quota per se. But one of the things that is coming out very well, and which is a reaction that we packaged like this as policy in our university, is because in Africa, we are struggling with unemployed graduates. I want to stress that again. Unemployed graduates. Now, why is a graduate of mechanical engineering, electrical engineering not employed? One of the reasons could be that maybe he or she does not have a way to be entrepreneurial with the skill of mechanical engineering. And so it seems to be working very well for us. Somebody spoke about, I think it is Dr. Steck, spoke about the fact that maybe the school, the university is not the ideal environment, context to teach entrepreneurship, and partly agreeing with that. However, we have arranged in this course that there is provision for industry to come into the university.
Thank you. Thank you, Mogwera. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I want to get one more speaker in before we go to the post vote. I think you make a very good case. I would take from what you say the following. Actually, are there enough jobs out there for our graduates right now? And what is the alternative if they can't gain employment? Surely we should be preparing them for that possibility. But your contribution, fantastic. Thank you. Sorry, it's Gabriel Konayuma. I'm gone to you now. Is it Gabriel or Gabriel? Please.
Whichever is okay for me.
Hi, it's Gabriel,
Okay.
definitely with that voice. So where are you speaking from, Gabriel?
I'm speaking from Zambia. I'm in the
Lovely.
Ministry of Technology and Science. Actually, in my previous position, I was in charge of promoting entrepreneurship development in the TVET sector.
Please make your point.
So, I think my point similar to the previous speaker is that we cannot have the luxury of not having entrepreneurship as a compulsory subject, especially where there's massive unemployment. And I think actually waiting for university is a little bit too late. But I would think it should start from secondary school. If the learners were not introduced to entrepreneurship secondary, then at university, they should actually be exposed to entrepreneurship. Best taught, I think, by those who are actually entrepreneurs, those that show that they have succeeded, they can share the experiences, losses, the failures they had, and so on. But I think at least people should be given the opportunity to see that enterprise, building an enterprise is a viable way of going it, especially in situations where the
So would you be in favor of having entrepreneurship but not making it compulsory?
I think it should be made compulsory if they have not been exposed to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just to mention that actually I passed through Hong Kong last year when I was going to China, and I saw a lot of entrepreneurship.
Well, next time you pass
don't know
through,
where,
next time you pass
yes.
through, do make sure you look me up. I'm at City U. I'm very easy to find.
All right, I'll do so. Thank you.
Okay, thank you,
Yeah, so I
Gabriel.
think, yeah,
I'm
thank you so
aware
much.
of the time, ladies and gentlemen, so I'm going to go now to the post vote, where you get the opportunity, we get the opportunity to see how open-minded you are, whether any of you have changed your mind. I'll remind you that 88% were in favor of the proposition, just 12% opposed it, just after Abby had spoken. We're now at the end of the session. So Simon, could you please put the voting up for everyone? Okay, you can now vote. Please vote. At the moment, it's, oh, wow, it's very interesting. It's fluctuating all over the place. Your vote is going to be very important in determining the outcome of this debate. Very, very important. Let's take a look. Yeah. So far, there's still 30 odd people that haven't voted. 20 something people haven't voted. So your vote really counts. I can tell you this is, at the moment, it's looking very different from the opening vote. Very different. So your vote will count. Another 20, 21 people to vote. I'm going to give you 30 seconds beginning now. You have 30 seconds to cast your vote. You must have an opinion, surely. You're an academic. That's what we do. We all have an opinion. We're like cats. Impossible to herd because we all have our own viewpoint. Administrators are like dogs. They work in packs. Cats, academics, they work individually. Can't herd them. Won't do as they're told. That's us, definitely. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The poll has ended. Okay, well, we'll share the poll results, and we've moved from 88% agreeing at the beginning to only 80% agreeing at the end, and 12% disagreeing at the beginning to 20% now disagreeing. So it seems that whilst it's definitely a victory for our two proposers, Prof. Abby and Caleb, it is a Pyrrhic victory for Dr. Peter Steck and Mohammed Rafi. So great bit of news. You can see the results now, I believe. 80-20 instead of 88-12. Okay, all that remains, I'd like you all to hold on because there's usually a little bit of a networking thing at the end once Mandy has spoken. But I just want to give a warm round of applause to each of our 4 panelists, Prof. Abby, Caleb, Dr. Peter, and Mohammed Rafi. Thank you for your sterling work as panelists. And thank you, of course, to our audience, in particular, Moguera, Salamat, Gabriel, Gulam, and I've lost the other one, just disappeared. Thank you very much for your contributions to this debate that I'm sure has helped to sway some people's views. So I will be hanging around, but I'm going to hand over to Mandy now, and just like to thank you all for making this lively. You've kind of you've got me thinking. That's always a good thing. Thank you very much. Mandy.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Especially, I'd like to thank all the lively debaters for the very impressive discussion. I hope you've all enjoyed tonight's all-men debaters. Looks like they're all on fire. A big thank you also to Prof. Kevin Downing, our debate master. And last but not least, I'd like to thank you, our participants, for your support and for joining us tonight. This is the first Squaring the Circle debate for 2024. And alternating with the Squaring the Circle debate is the Fireside Chat. And the first Fireside Chat for the year is scheduled to be on the 8th of May, also on a Wednesday, and also at 8 p.m. Singapore time. The topic for the May Fireside Chat is the hidden power of language, the transformative potential of applied linguistics in higher education. I hope you all join us for this. This fireside chat is sponsored by ILA, International Association of Applied Linguistics. We will be sending reminder emailers, so do check your emails or spam boxes sometime in April. And don't forget, please write to me if you would like to speak or would like to suggest some hot topics that you're passionate about. Last year, on the 1st of December 2023, we launched the Applied HE Public and Private University Rankings for the ASEAN region in Cebu, Philippines. And this year, we will be launching the second Applied HE Public and Private University Ranking for ASEAN, again in December. The venue will be confirmed soon. But I'm pleased to inform you that we are now open for the submission of data. So please submit your institution's data ASAP. You can submit via the link here, ranking.appliedhe.com. We will also be sending reminder emailers to all of you in the next few days. Next, I'd like to introduce you to a very smart consulting strategy. I call it the 3 Musketeers, or 3M for short. So how did the 3M came about? Well, this is the story. In my 2 decades of extensive experience and observation in the higher education industry, and also having had the privilege of speaking to key decision makers like presidents, vice chancellors, rectors, ministers of education, etc., I have made 3 crucial observations. The first observation is, if you can promote your employability and student satisfaction successfully, you would have been able to convince both the parents and the students that your school is the right choice. I won't go into the details, but for every observation, we have a solution. And the solution for observation 1 is the job ready rating from Applied HE. The second observation is, if you know how to communicate, engage, and most of all, retain your alumni, you would have won half the battle already, because you would have been able to raise your reputation easily, both locally and globally. You would be able to recruit new students, generate more funding and donations, find more job opportunities, internships for your graduates, and many more. And to address this, we've created the Applied HE Alumni Ready app to help you do the job. The third observation is, if you can equip your students with the soft skills that employers want, your students would be in great demand, hence raising your employer reputation. And the solution to this is the Applied HE Critical Thinking Assessment Test, created specifically for your graduating students. In addition to equipping your students with the soft skills, this third observation also comes with a strategy that we dare to guarantee will help you to not only increase your employer reputation, but also to close the gap between industry and academia, so that you can now shape your curricula to what industry wants, either at no cost or at a very low cost. So my 3 observations have evolved into a cutting-edge strategic consulting approach, meticulously crafted to tackle all your institution's challenges. The 3M consulting strategy will provide powerful insights and information for universities to make informed decisions and strategies, and to truly understand all your stakeholders involved. Most consulting projects only look at one dimension, and that is addressing your current situation. With our 3M radar-like approach, you can now address your institution's past, present, and future challenges. Our apps and solutions will be able to help not just one department, but several key departments in your university. The 3M strategy is truly an all-rounder, transforming your institution's future like never before. Definitely a game changer in the consulting space. So just imagine higher student enrollment, whether local or international, enhanced graduate employability, increased student satisfaction, and a vibrant and thriving alumni community. All these contributing to your institution's financial position and improved university rankings. This is not only a smart consulting project looking at your institution from 3 dimensions, but also a fundamental step to take if you are serious about improving the overall quality of your institution. So please contact me if you're interested in this innovative strategic audit. You'll be very surprised at the effectiveness of this project and the competitive cost. And last but not least, we want to acknowledge our sponsors. We're very grateful for all their support. City University of Hong Kong, Universitas Muhammadiyah Sumatera Utara, or UMSU as they're called, from Indonesia, Education Insight from the UK, and ILA, International Association of Applied Linguistics, who will be celebrating their 60th anniversary World Congress in Kuala Lumpur this coming August. So please visit their website if you would like to attend this prestigious Applied Linguistics World Congress happening in KL. A big thank you to all of you for your valuable support. We have come to the end of the first Squaring the Circle debate for 2024. Thank you very much, everyone. But please do not leave the room yet. As Kevin says, we must always have our Applied HE signature sign-off after our webinars. So we want to invite you to network for a little bit with everybody present here. We're going to open the room now for a few minutes. You can see each other, say hello, have a chat, or you can even leave your name and contact in the chat box. This is as much as we can do online in the name of networking. So please turn on your cameras. My colleague Simon will be upgrading you to panelists. Please do not decline. Gentle reminder again, if you would like to speak at any of our webinars or have a hot topic that you'd like us to cover, please reach out to us. Thank you very much. Have a great evening or great day ahead. Over to you now, Simon.
Yep. That's what all we have now.
Oh, everybody's so shy.
They've got these lovely Photoshop pictures. That's what it is. They don't want to show the real thing.
I guess everyone, if they're in this region, they must be in their pajamas.
In my case, I can't see my camera, so it is disabled.
I see.
My nice try.
Not in the Muslim world. They'll be preparing to eat in Asia if they haven't already.
Oh, well, since everyone's so shy, we'll see you.
No, sorry,
Go on.
Kevin.
Go on.
I think what the participants are saying is that their cameras are disabled. They can't switch it
Why?
on.
Yeah, they are disabled.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. If there's not enough bandwidth, then I guess
Oh, I see.
Maguera in Botswana, you probably don't have enough bandwidth to put video.
No, I do. Don't worry about that. I do.
What a
Don't worry
pity.
about that, my friend.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I think
can I just shout out to Jeremy? Jeremy, thank you very much. You made some very good points, and there have been some great Q&A sessions. If you haven't visited that, please go to Q&A and chat. There's some wonderful stuff going on there. And Mogwera, yes, of course. You can get my contact details from Mandy. So that's no problem at all. I think it's a really interesting discussion. We had people from the continent of Africa, a large number of people, and people from all over Asia engaging in this. Really exciting stuff.
Fantastic.
Can I just tell you a little story that may get you talking, networking? I'm a British guy through and through, but I came to Hong Kong in 2001. I've been here ever since, and I've often questioned why leave everything? And I've got a farm in the UK and so on. Why did I come here to work? And I get the same answer every time I ask myself that. I think Caleb this will resonate with you. I think if we all learn together and we debate together like this, we can prevent in the future the terrible things that are currently happening in parts of the world where people from different cultures, religions, and backgrounds are failing to understand each other and resorting to violence. And I think each and every one of us have that somewhere in our hearts, that if we can foster that international understanding,
Yes.
we're doing our tiny little bit to prevent future conflict amongst the people that we teach and who learn together.
Yes.
Caleb?
I agree, Professor Kevin. It's true. Everything that we do, we should always remember we are interconnected. When we do something good for our region, we're hoping that we can also share it with the others. And then whatever progress they have there, whatever good thing they have there, they would also share with us. Of course, nothing is perfect. We live in an imperfect world, but at least if we would, come together and just try to look for something common, positively common, then we can have less stress and challenges in this world, and we can just move from one. That's utopia, the idea of utopia, right? You're in another place, but you still feel like you're home. You're home everywhere you go, because everybody's just trying to look for commonality and just being one with one another.
Yeah, I see you have your fan club with you from the chat. Everyone calling you Sir Caleb.
You know, one American friend said, I love going to the Philippines because even if you're not yet knighted, they call you sir.
And Abby, you've got a fan club there as well, I see.
Oh, wow, you guys.
Well, I really like your comment, Kevin, and then followed by Caleb. This idea is that, and thanks to Applied HE for bringing together. It's so often, we are so focused in our local problems, and I'm quite tempted to throw shade on my opponents, but I'll let it go. But the idea of debates, and you're right in prefacing it earlier, Kevin, is that it doesn't mean that this is actually the actual position, but it actually teaches us to be empathetic about what other person is thinking. And I think in the current debate, and I'm currently in the UK now, and I'm just surprised how the Palestinian war and the Ukrainian war, how the debate is so different in Malaysia and in Europe, and how we can easily dehumanize people or certain sections of the population
Yes.
because we don't make the effort to bridge. So congratulations to Applied HE.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah,
Hope
and
more will join.
go on, Mandy.
I said, I hope more will join. It's such a challenge. Like today, we had well over 200 signed ups. But as you can see the numbers, I guess everyone's busy or they forgot.
Well, we were up to nearly 80 at
60.
one point.
Did we?
Yeah, it went up to 79, I saw on the participants at the bottom. So when the speakers were speaking and during the debate itself. So I think that's a large number. And actually, it's not just a number, it's a diversity.
Mm,
Learning together
very thankful for that.
from this discussion, a point that Jeremy made that, I think none of us have, some of us have none of the answers, but none of us have all of the answers. And I think a great saying that I remember that just like to share with all of you is that a fool can make a discussion into an argument. It takes a wise person to turn an argument into a discussion. And I think what's happened here tonight, something should be applauded, because there's clearly a lot of passion around this topic, as there is around most of the topics we discuss. And it's wonderful that we can debate it in such a civilized and fascinating way. I've certainly come away with more questions now than I had at the beginning of the debate. Well, I don't know about the rest of you, but for me, it's getting to the time when I need to have my beauty sleep. I need as much of that as I can get. So
Thank you. I hope to see you guys at the next.
I'm going to say goodbye and leave you to it.
Yeah.
Have an early start.
everyone.
Travel to China tomorrow.
Thank you all for
Bye,
staying
everyone.
behind.
See you
Thank
again.
you, everybody.
See you.
Thank you. Thank you, all my friends from
Happy
the
See you in May
Philippines. Thank
sometime.
you.
Bye-bye.
To those of you, take care.
Good night. Good night.
Good
From the
night.
Philippines. Good night from the Philippines.
Yeah. It's like the Eurovision Song Contest. Thank you, guys.
Bye. Salamat
Bye.
po.
Bye-bye.